Namaste. Good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Mahesh Arvind, Chairman of Pragna Foundation, welcoming you all for Pragna Prerana Talk of the Week. Today's talk is on holistic development of students by Professor H.N. Vatsala. It's my pleasure to give a brief introduction about today's speaker, Professor H.N. Vatsala. Professor Vatsala, a retired professor of English, focusing on transforming students, guiding them in developing critical thinking. She has a strong belief that the prescribed textbooks only provide the headlines and the matter that has to be taught needs to be experienced through various mechanisms like classroom pedagogy, role playing, theatre and dance, interaction with critics and intellectuals, and more. She has taken a lead in starting and nurturing the Drama Society, heading the college human rights cell. She was a board member of a reputed film society. She is involved in initiating and conducting reading group meetings and getting young adults interested in both topical and classical reading. She has conducted trainings in personality development, emotional intelligence, interpersonal skills, soft skills, effective communication, campus to corporate program. She is an excellent counselor and a real mentor. So, on our request, she is here to deliver the talk on holistic development of students. So, thank you, madam, for accepting our invitation. It's over to Professor Vatsala.
A very good evening to all of you. I'm honored, Dr. Mahesh Arvind, by your fine introduction. I hope I live up to it. And I'm so glad to be able to address students. And today we are going to talk about holistic development. The idea is to give you a bird's eye view of what holistic development is and how Pragna Foundation might try and achieve it. Okay. Pragna Foundation believes in going over and beyond academic excellence, with its catchphrase being holistic development. It believes in overall and well-rounded learning of individuals. Let us start by understanding what holistic development means and how to address it. Holistic development is the integration and cultivation of physical, emotional, mental, social, and spiritual growth of an individual. I would like to remind you that every one of the key areas that we have talked about here can be an independent session by itself. There is so much to say about each one of these topics, but today we are just going to briefly cover what every one of these key areas entails. Nurturing all the above aspects in an individual would lead to a balanced and grounded overall growth is what we at Pragna Foundation staunchly believe. Now you may want to ask me, why holistic development? Let us look at the present education system. While the present education system trains in teaching subjects and preparing students for exams, There is a void in helping students equip themselves with skills that they would need once they step out of the classroom and begin to navigate life's challenges. I have come across students who have excellent marks reports but who have not been very successful when it comes to their careers. Today's world is not only changing at lightning speed, it's also becoming immensely complex. The present generation requires many skills like emotional resilience, social preparedness, stress management, techniques to think out of the box, among many other things, just in order to survive, let alone becoming successful. So, this is what is needed. This is the order of the day. And Pragna Foundation endeavors to create an environment where educators recognize and nurture every student's unique abilities. Let us now take a brief look at the key areas identified by the Pragna team for holistic development. We will start with physical development. After all, we start with our bodies and then move on to the minds. Now, while physical vitality and strong, healthy bodies were always insisted upon, at no point of time was it highlighted as much as in the present time. The digital era has brought in as many lifestyle diseases and mental problems as it has brought comfort and ease into our lives. Sedentary habits have creeped into lives at an earlier age, sapping energy at a very crucial stage in our lives. We have people sitting for 18 to 20 hours at their laptops without getting up, and they have been suffering from lifestyle diseases from as early as 30 years old. And I have seen students who are 42 years old down with a stroke, with high blood pressure, and things like that. And physical activity has been tremendously neglected in recent times. Physical activities like walking, jogging, yoga, breathing exercises, strength training offer numerous physical and mental health benefits, boosts energy levels, improves mood, and reduces the risk of chronic diseases. I have people who think, intellectual activity is more important and physical activity is not. But if you want to be a complete human being, you must start by training your bodies before you train your minds, because a sufficient amount of your mind is also trained when you train yourself physically. More about that as we go on. Now let us look at yoga. Yoga has become such a big word in not just in India but the world over. Yoga improves flexibility, strength, and balance, apart from reducing stress, improves mental focus, and improves sleep quality. One can decide how important it is when statistics tell us the alarming percentage of youngsters suffering from insomnia. With the highly urbanized atmospheres in which we live, we have been cut off from nature and its beneficial impact. All the above activities that I mentioned achieve a synergistic effect on both bodies and minds. Nature walks are supposed to do wonders to the body and mind. Many intelligent thinkers have addressed and admitted that long walks have helped them come up with creative solutions to impossible problems. Gardening has been another such soothing activity, highly recommended. In fact, many software professionals today are believed to be turning to farming with claims of a high sense of fulfillment. Also, occasional retreats help people understand their bodies and minds together. As I said earlier, there are so many things that can be said about physical activity, but I must stop here because I need to address many other issues. Now, let us talk about nutrition. Do you know that Ayurveda believes that the finest of what we eat becomes our minds? No wonder nutrition today occupies the center stage of our lives, as it does more than provide mere nutrition for the body. The recent research on gut health probably gives the strongest connection between the mind and the body. It has been established that the gut releases major neurotransmitters which are associated with the brain. Information about the gut today is revolutionizing our understanding of digestion, our moods, and even the way we think. So, gut feeling is definitely a connection between what goes on in our minds and what we eat. In fact, it has been jokingly said that, self control is all about only two things: what goes into our mouths and what comes out of it, meaning what we eat and what we talk. So let us now go to another big topic of today, which is emotional development. So, emotions or intelligence? This has been a question that has been asked for many, many years. For a long time, the West prioritized intelligence over emotion. IQ was considered a marker of success. But in the 90s, research in this field shows that the most intelligent people were not the most successful people. Today, the role of emotional intelligence is seen as an indispensable tool for success. And this is very good news because a person is born with a certain IQ and nothing can change, whereas your emotional quotient can be tweaked, can be bettered, and you can train yourself to become emotionally intelligent. Just imagine what potential it can tap in every one of you. As with any tool that can be used either for good or for a harmful purpose, emotions can be used as a key to grow in inner strength, patience, forbearance, and success. Emotional maturity is the pathway for eventual wisdom, and all of us are born with all the emotions, and therefore IQ may be different, but EQ will be the same for all of us depending on the degree to which we train ourselves. In order to make the emotions work for us, we need to access all our emotions, not just the positive ones. After all, one can always not have pleasure, excitement, thrill, joy in life. Sadness, disappointment, rejection, hurt, all these are part of life. And we need to balance the positive and the negative emotions, especially because of our tendency to experience negative emotions more than positive ones. This is called negative bias. All of us lean towards negative bias. So when there is a negative emotion, it can trigger so many more negative emotions, and that can have a spiraling effect, whereas a positive emotion does not have the same effect. So it's all the more important for us to balance these emotions. More about how those can be balanced and one can become emotionally strong. Now, we have identified certain activities that are extremely important. I would call them certain activities or certain skills that is very necessary for us to become emotionally resilient. I use the word resilient again and again because that is what we should all become, emotionally resilient. And it's a lifelong journey, both in professional and personal relationships. So, the first one that I would like to stress on is active listening skills. Every one of you who have completed your schooling knows this point that I am going to make, that listening is one of the most important skills, but unfortunately, the most neglected communication skill. Nothing in the curriculum addresses listening skills. There is no training done in schools or colleges for listening skills. Of course, there are very strong reasons why it can't be done. There are very valid reasons for why it can't be done. But through life, before we get into a job, the transition between a student and a career person must involve learning listening skills, because listening has far reaching impact on how much we absorb and nurture our minds. It's not about what we just convey to others, it's also about how much we have absorbed, how much we have held it in our brains. Therefore, it would profit every one of us immensely to master this skill and become deep listeners. In fact, this is one of the pivotal skills which will help relationships both personally and professionally. And of course, in today's world, the next important skill that all of us need to develop is empathy. Empathy is so very important because the present modern society fosters all of us to become selfish and self-wrapped in whatever that we are doing. So we need to train ourselves to empathize in order to understand the people around us and make sure that we give our best to the world and we allow others around us to give the best. The third one is owning personal responsibility. I see that people keep hearing about owning personal responsibility for the first time. Whenever I mention this, people are so surprised. If we own personal responsibility, there wouldn't be so much of blame, so many complaints, so many, they should have done this, they should have done that in our lives. So, what is personal responsibility? Personal responsibility is to hold ourselves accountable for our behavior, for our decisions, and our thoughts, thereby acknowledging our roles in co-creation of the world. So, I have seen people complain about so many things. They never ask themselves, now as a citizen, what is my responsibility? So, in every situation, it is very important to ask yourself, what is my responsibility in this? How should I address? What is my role that is expected in these circumstances? So, with that, now let us move on to mental development. I would like to stress here that learning is not merely about accumulating knowledge. Today, information is available everywhere. We can find information on the internet, we can find it in books, we can find it in people. So, accumulating knowledge is no longer a challenge as it used to be earlier, when one would have to go to libraries or to go to experts to get the information. But today, the challenge is developing necessary skills like creative thinking, problem solving, and critical thinking. All these are a must in today's world. We live in such fortunate times that I would like to ask all of you a few questions. How many of us are familiar with the recent brain research? How many of us know that our bodies age and our brains do not? How many of us know that when we learn a new skill, we alter our brain? How many of us know that our brains are constantly being shaped by the world around us? How many of us know, last but not the least, that our brains can grow new neurons? This is astounding research. At any age, we can grow new neurons. We can create a new brain. And this does not require any wonder drug. What is it that we need then? We have a variety of activities to choose from: word games, puzzles, listening to podcasts, listening to music, learning a new skill, or creating artwork. All these things can create new neurons and rewire our brains. This is a new science called neuroplasticity, and exciting work has been done in this area. I want all of you to go and read up on neuroplasticity, and you will be so surprised to find information which you have not hitherto listened to. Among all the activities that you can do, probably because I was a professor, the one that is closest to my heart, the one about which I am very passionate, is reading. Reading is perhaps the best substitute for direct experience. Reading has so many benefits. Reading improves empathy, emotional intelligence, helps derive insight, helps in critical thinking, helps in developing communication skills, and helps in developing multiple perspectives. These are all so important. I would recommend every one of you set aside 1 hour in a day for reading. And of course, the almost forgotten skill of writing. Writing not only improves cognitive processes but also brings a lot of clarity into our thinking. Have any of you tried in a day to recount your experience? Let us say every one of us have some special experience in the course of a day. Why don't we sit at night before we go to bed and write about 10 sentences about what we learned that day? And you can see that if you do this for 6 months, you can see how your minds become so clear. You're able to judge so many things better. So, all the above activities that I have mentioned can create new connections to the brain, helping the brain to be alert, young, and thriving irrespective of your age. And I am a living example of that, I think. Or, as Lara Boyd says, we can build the brain we want. Can you imagine all of you can be gods and build the brain that you want? Isn't that a very exciting thing to do? Next thing, habits. How many of us know that habits are very, very powerful? Do you know that 40% of our actions in a day are not decisions that we make, but they are habits? What is the difference between decision making and habits? Decision making involves conscious thinking, whereas habits are effortless, are easy, are unconscious, and you can do it without involving your brain too much or setting aside your brain for other things. Habits scientists say, emerge because our brain is constantly looking for ways to save effort. See how economical nature is. The brain strives to save energy for better things. One does not need to stress the importance of good habits. While I say this, I want all of you to remember that bad habits cannot be got rid of. You cannot just leave a bad habit like that. Bad habits have to be replaced by good habits. And how do you form good habits? By repetitive action, by doing the same thing over and over again till it becomes effortless. I don't think any of us sit and wonder whether we need to brush our teeth. There are many of us who drive from long distances. We don't even know how we reach home. We have reached because driving has become a habit. We don't consciously put any effort into driving. This is the power of habits, and you all have a lifetime of developing good habits. So, all these habits that I have mentioned can help us become mentally agile and mentally strong. Okay? One goes to the gym for physical activities. All these are the mental gym exercises that one can indulge in order to become agile and strong mentally. Now, let us talk about social development. We must remember that human beings were not created to be isolated human beings. We all live in a society, and as long as we live in a society, social skills are important in every walk of life. Every one of us have a certain social responsibility. Social responsibility or social skills means that we strive to have good relationships with everyone around us. For that, we learn to communicate very well. We learn to work in teams. We learn to resolve conflicts. We learn to assume leadership positions. We learn to negotiate, and we learn to master negotiation skills because they are all part of survival in today's world. Let me tell you, if any of us mistakenly imagine that all this is necessary only for a person's success, I would completely disagree. Today, these are the skills we need for survival. Aspiring to have a life which goes beyond earning money, creating public virtues, or cultivating democratic citizens is no longer a choice. We all have to do our bit to make sure that we create a healthy, wonderful society in which all of us are happy to be a part of. Now, let me speak about the newest buzzword in business circles and in all professional circles too, which is called the adaptability quotient. This phrase has become the newest buzzword for both professional and personal growth in today's world. Technological advancements are happening in the blink of an eye. What technology is there today is not there tomorrow. It has become redundant already. So, this is happening before all of our eyes, isn't it? My generation would love to listen to radio. Today, nobody listens to radio, in spite of having radio jockeys, in spite of having the kind of music that people want. Okay? So, customer expectations and market demands are constantly evolving. Economic, political, and ecological forces, these are all forces not in our control at all, but they are also rapidly changing. So, how should one equip oneself for this kind of a world? New skills, new ways of thinking, exploring the unknown is the hallmark of adaptive learning. developing an open mind which is ready to receive anything new, any kind of information from any source is the most important requisite for today's world. Now, let us come to the last aspect, but very, very important, because holistic development through all this should lead us to spiritual development, because we are all spiritual beings in human lives. This is what we should believe honestly. It must be understood that we have come to this world to evolve and move towards equanimity through every experience in life. We have to strengthen our connection with the world and in the world. We need to find our purpose. We need to develop and define our value systems. We need to periodically question our personal beliefs. We need to ponder over ethical questions. We need to explore different cultures which would help us realize the oneness of all human beings. This is the ultimate goal of our lives. Life is more than just academics. It is holistic development, not only about becoming perfect in every area. It's a transformative journey. One shapes not only one's future careers, but ultimately who one becomes as an individual. In today's fast paced, high pressure environment, true success is not just defined by just grades and degrees, but by overall development. It's also about progress, balance, and self awareness. When an individual develops physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, building a strong, adaptable, and authentic foundation for the future, they become more than better students. They become grounded, they become fulfilled individuals. As educators and mentors, we at Pragna Foundation encourage you not to just ask, what do I wish to do, but who do I want to be? And let that vision shape how you live, how you grow, how you learn to truly succeed and thrive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Vatsala. It was a wonderful talk indeed. On behalf of Pragna Foundation and on behalf of all the viewers, I thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot for taking your time, precious time, and delivering a wonderful lecture.
Feedback.
I also thank the viewers for joining this session. You can send your feedback. Take your own time. Please send your feedback. It matters a lot for us. Thank you all.